This may look like an ordinary luxury sedan, but it's not. What you're actually looking at is a glimpse of the future. On the surface, this just looks like a normal Cadillac CT6 that's been with us since 2016. Under hood, it's the same story. This is a twin turbocharged V6 that runs on gasoline, not some exotic fuel like plutonium. And even the interior is conventionally laid out with seats, a steering wheel, and pedals where you would expect to find them. But there's something here you can't see. This has the world's first hands-free driving system. Semi-autonomous driving systems have been around for a few years now, systems like Tesla's autopilot, but they've all required direct driver interaction. Take your hands off the wheel for too long and it'll set off alarms like you just robbed a bank. But that's not the case with this Cadillac. That's because this 2018 CT6 has General Motors' new Super Cruise system, which makes this the most autonomous, semi-autonomous car on the road today. But there are a few limitations we should cover before getting into the wonders of Super Cruise. The first is that it's a highway-only system, so you can't use this on just any old road. In fact, you can't even use it on any old highway. In addition to the normal array of sensors and cameras required for a semi-autonomous driving system, Super Cruise relies on a database of detailed maps, so the CT6 knows exactly where it is and what to expect at all times. So unless GM's blessed a certain stretch of highway, Super Cruise ain't gonna work. The second caveat is that Super Cruise still requires a certain degree of driver attention. While you don't always have to have your hands on the wheel, you do have to keep your eyes focused on the road. And in order to make sure that you do that, Cadillac included a little infrared sensor on the top of the steering wheel that always stares at your face to make sure you're focusing on driving rather than napping or watching Hoovie's Garage. He bought another car? This guy really does have a problem. And even though Super Cruise is an advanced system that relies on a detailed mapping database, it still needs to be able to detect lane lines in order to work. But enough talk, let's go find a GM-approved highway and experience the future. I'm now merging onto a Super Cruise highway. Now, before you can get the system to work, you do have to do a couple of things. First, it has to recognize that it's on a Super Cruise highway. Once it does that, you can just press this little Super Cruise button here. Super Cruise is still unavailable. Give it a second here. All right, Super Cruise has now been set, and I'm officially a passenger. There's another element to Super Cruise we haven't discussed yet. It's this light bar here at the top of the steering wheel. When it's green, that means Super Cruise is active and working. Now, if I take my eyes off the wheel, let's say I look out the window here for a second, it should start to flash green like that, and that means you need to get your eyes back on the road. And if you let that go too long, Super Cruise will actually start to shut down. Supposedly it slows the car down gradually until it eventually comes to a stop. I don't want to try that safety feature out on the highway, but that will eventually happen if you don't get your eyes back on the road. And here we are, we're coming up on a kind of congestion on the highway, and it's actually handling it quite well. It's not confused at all. It's braking accordingly. It's keeping me within my lane. It's doing what it's supposed to do. Hands-free driving is here. It is kind of odd knowing that I'm the only person on this highway that doesn't have their hands on the steering wheel. I'm just kind of looking around feeling sorry for all these people that actually have to drive. Unlike Tesla's autopilot, Super Cruise can't change the lanes for you. You have to actually labor through the process of putting on the turn signal, checking your mirror, and then turning the wheel. And when you do that, you get a light on the steering wheel that flashes blue to remind you that you're doing manual labor in an autonomous car. But then once you get back in your lane, it finds the lane markers, it turns green, and Super Cruise is reactivated. Now, anytime the system loses lane markers or just gets in a situation where it's unsure what to do, this will flash red or turn red, and that's a signal for the driver to take action. You got to put your hands on the wheel, and you actually have to do the driving. And it'll actually do that if it detects there's an upcoming construction zone. Because of it's got that detailed mapping system, it knows where construction areas are, and they can often be confusing with unmarked lanes and weird merges. So if it knows that a construction zone is upcoming, this might suddenly turn red, and you're wondering, why is it turning red? But it's just because it knows something confusing is coming up. just went red for the first time. I had some bad stretch of asphalt there that kind of didn't have the correct paint for the lane lines, and it went red and said, please grab it. You also get a little vibration in your seat to make sure you're really paying attention. But just grabbed it. Now I'm just back to normal driving here. It reverts to adaptive cruise control when it leaves. You don't really have to worry about hitting the car in front of you or anything like that, because that's still active. You just have to make sure you're at the wheel to steer in case of any objects or anything like that. So we've covered the technical aspects of Super Cruise, but what's it actually like to use? Well, first of all, it's very simple. To activate this, it's pretty foolproof. Once you get the green light and you hit the button, Super Cruise kind of just takes over, and it works just as advertised. I've been driving a few miles on this now, and I haven't had any issues. It just goes in its lane and stays there until you need to change lanes or do something else. I can just see this is the future. It's pretty amazing. This is only level 2, and supposedly we're getting to level 5 autonomous driving where you don't have to do anything. But even this level 2 is a really big step. I can see this being the ultimate road trip vehicle. You could just go for miles and miles and just feel relaxed whenever you get to your destination. I've got cooled seats, I've got massaging seats. I'm just sitting back with my hands on my lap and just kind of relaxing and enjoying the scenery. It's really, this makes commuting on highways a really pleasant experience. So there it is, the 2018 Cadillac CT6 with Super Cruise, the most relaxing road trip machine money can buy. Overall, I'm really impressed with this Super Cruise system. Once you find a GM approved highway, it's just a matter of setting your desired speed, then sitting back, relaxing, and really enjoying these massaging seats. But this is the early days for this technology, so there's still a few issues to work through. The first is that it doesn't work everywhere. You've got to be on a highway to use Super Cruise, and even then, not all highways are mapped. So unless you regularly drive on a mapped highway, you're not going to really reap the benefits of Super Cruise. The other is this doesn't always work in inclement weather. Now, normal rain, this can handle just fine, but I was in a torrential downpour the other day, and this lost track of the lane lines and therefore turned off Super Cruise. Now, that's obviously not a huge deal, but it is something they're going to have to address at some point. But overall, this is a really exciting glimpse at the future, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for Super Cruise 2.0.